So Arboretum is basically like a living museum of trees. I'm Mark Hathaway. I'm the arborist at the university. We try to collect as many species as we can that can grow here and thrive in this environment. Right now we have 303 taxa, which is species, varieties, and cultivars of trees. The National Tree Benefits Calculator. And it'll tell you the actual benefits you get out of that tree, such as stormwater retention, air pollution reduction, carbon sequestration. You can get energy conservation, so if we have trees planted on the south and west sides of buildings, it'll shade them and they won't require as much utilities to cool the building. You can also achieve various windbreaks, help reduce light pollution and noise pollution. There's a big impact of having a nice view out of your classroom windows versus parking lot. It creates a better environment for students to learn in. Unfortunately, the new program, the Denver Advantage buildings that are going up, we're going to have a net loss of trees on these. The big thing we're able to do is increase our diversity of species on these new projects. Generally, a monoculture is a bad thing. If any type of disease or insect or environmental thing happens, you can lose all of your species. You've got exotic pests moving. The biggest one lately is the emerald ash borer, which threatens to wipe out all the ash trees. We are down to about 80 ash trees on campus.
There's these bugs that are hitting some of these trees. The emerald ash borer right now is taking out a great deal of those trees. In the past in Denver, there was a Dutch elm disease, which impacted the American elm. Like if you guys drive around the city and you see the huge, gorgeous trees, that's the American elm. It is a massive tree of the Midwest. It's very beautiful. And this Dutch elm disease took out 70% of them in the city.
We're in a much better position to survive events like that than if we had just a small collection of a couple dozen species.
I'm Mike Kerwin. I'm a professor here. I'm the head of the environmental science program, and my research is on climate change. Here on campus, this would have been a grasslands community, so it would have been treeless.
Denver is really an artificial environment. Pretty much everything you see here would not grow here naturally. It's supplemented with irrigation. We do have some issues with the elevation and the extreme weather changes, temperature-wise, that cause a lot of problems for plants. So it's difficult finding things that will grow here and grow here well, but the majority of them wouldn't grow here without added irrigation.
There's no doubt about it that I think it can be a little bit challenging to talk about climate change and urban forests in a place like Denver where it's all artificial.
Now with climate change impacting things, we don't know where the future's going to be for us. A lot of the trees that grew very well here early on in the 20s and prior to that don't grow as well here anymore. We're not entirely sure why. It could be simply nursery practices, maybe the genetic stock of these plants aren't quite the same. We don't know, but a lot of the old mature trees that you'll find around Denver are a little bit difficult to get growing now. Some of them still are great, but others vary. As the environment kind of changes and gets warmer, you have problems with native plants. They're no longer adapted to their environment because their environment's changed. If it continues to go in the trends that they predict, native plants that, as you know today, won't be able to survive in most of their native environments.
If you take the climate of Denver, say 100 years ago, and it had a certain average temperature and a certain precipitation amount 100 years ago, and back then more of that probably would have fallen as snow, that type of thing. So as you get warmer, if you bring in plants from the more southerly zone, they could handle the heat a little bit better. They might require a little bit less water. It's almost 80 gallons per person per day that is used for irrigation of of urban landscapes. Of all the water that is taken out of the streams, maybe only about 10% for domestic water. Of that 10%, which are toilets, showers, all the stuff that we do with water, cooking, drinking, half of it goes into our irrigation of trees. The biggest concern with climate change in the Intermountain West is the combination of higher temperatures and the impact that will have on snowmelt and therefore the surface water supply.
There's only about 15.5 inches of precipitation a year here.
Even if you have the same overall amount of precipitation, overall you're going to have less water volume coming out, and you're going to have much less water volume in the summertime and even right now in the fall. As we move forward in time, people are moving more into the cities. So city residents in Denver will feel higher water bills, a need to conserve, and their water bills might double or triple in price. But don't think for a moment that people are going to start giving up on trees.
All our trees are planted for the most part in the lawn, so they don't get any special irrigation. They just use the water that's left over from the lawn. The systems are set up to shut off if we get rain. A lot of times though, there's not enough rain in an actual storm to meet the needs of the water, especially in midsummer, so it'll still water to make up that difference.
The increase in sort of extreme events related to precipitation are going to continue to happen. So when you do have precipitation, it can come in the form of large flooding, rainstorms or snowstorms, punctuated by long term drought. It's about an increase of 2.5 degrees C. In the Denver area, summertime temperature. We're looking at the decade of 2090 to 2100. That warming alone actually enhances drought because you have more energy that can go into evaporation. And when you remove that water from the system, whether it's the plants or the soil water, moisture, or even the groundwater, then you do begin to get drying, essentially just from warmer conditions.
And so we've been able to plant a lot of trees from warmer climates up here and that have survived. Because of our altitude, we get the really freak temperature swing, and a lot of them get killed by that. So we have the northern trees that can survive our winters very well, but they struggle in the heat of the summers. The southern trees do very well in the summers but struggle in the winters, and we're kind of in an area where we don't know exactly what will make it and what won't. And long term, they're concerned about a lot of species going extinct in the environment, and Arboretums, botanic gardens are one of the last places that these trees are likely to be conserved.